Greetings, welcome in. I'm so excited to be sharing this video with you today. I've lately been very inspired by deck collection and decluttering, especially as I did recently make a video about some decks that I was going to be finally getting rid of. And I feel like I caught the bug a little bit, and I feel like lately I feel like I've just had a sort of like clarity around not only my practice, but just I feel like the rose colored glasses have come off when it comes to my collection in general. Like, I just look at certain decks and I just feel like I can't, maybe ever since I think this is the effect of like actually rehoming decks in general, is that you really, like, once you start doing that, you start to just generally get a better sense of like, you know what? I can't make excuses for why I still have this deck. I shouldn't have it. And so, yeah, I feel like that's where I'm at now. The rose colored glasses are gone. And I just feel like I'm ready to just really look at my collection with, in a more realistic sense and have a better, more real approach to what decks I keep and what decks I get rid of. Over the years, I've acquired quite a few. Definitely more than I initially imagined, but nothing like too overwhelming. It's not that my collection is overwhelming, it's just that I just have decks that sit around. And generally, also, I feel like even the decks that I proclaim to really, really love, and I do, like, I have a sentimental attachment towards them, I feel like at the same time, I I'm just realistically looking at the ways that I use it, and if the use of it, like the function and utility of it, is worth keeping around, even though I have a sentimental attachment to it. Like, that aside, is this deck functional in my collection? And yeah, so that's pretty much kind of where I'm coming from. And a while ago, I had the idea to go through a bunch of my like deep decks and decks that I feel like are study decks or require some level of like neediness from me. Like, if I feel the need to approach them in a certain way before I can work with them, if there's something I feel like I need to do. So that part is a little bit more subjective for me, whether or not I feel like the deck is needy. But I wanted to kind of go through them and see like, which one of these am I actually going to study? Which one of these am I actually going to do the thing that I feel like I need to do in order to work with the deck? By the way, one of my bigger inspirations for doing any sort of deck collection and declutter, which I think is what I'm doing, I'm just starting with this previous idea that I had about deep decks, comes from Thea Evans. And Thea was inspired by Lisa Pepez in the way that Lisa does this sort of this or that, comparing decks to see, like, in a similar category, which one is more suitable to stay in their collection, what uses they have. Sometimes one goes, sometimes both go, sometimes none of them go. But yeah, Thea was inspired by Lisa. I'm inspired by Thea. And so yeah, that's kind of just the vibe that I'm going to be going for. Not every single time, but just I wanted to try doing that to see if I could get a better sense of how my collection is actually functioning. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're going to start with the Tarot of Her and the Mother Tarot. These decks are, definitely more feminine. This one I've had for a very long time. And I have probably used it, I want to say maybe 10 times. 10 times maybe. But yeah, let's just pull it out first and we'll get to the Tarot of Her in a second. It's a lovely deck. It's a square deck, as you can see, which actually this is going to be a great comparison because they're both abnormally shaped. They're not like standard tarot size. This has a guidebook and it's really cute. And it's really interesting. I think the art style is like sort of up my alley, but not completely. But it has a very sexy view in the cards, and so I don't know what we're gonna do with this you know thing with the way decks can and can't show things. It's art, come on now. Like, it's really pissing me off, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's a really amazing deck. I love the imagery, but I don't know, something about it. It has like directions associated, but I never use that because it's only slightly off from a square. It's more of a rectangle when you really look at it. It's not perfectly square. And so when you put it sideways, you can kind of feel it by like a millimeter. And it bothers me. So I don't put them sideways. But yeah, it's a really beautiful deck and it's pretty cool. I don't even remember why I don't use it. I think it's because I was confused by like the directional things. Like I still haven't figured out my elemental and directional like associations, the way they work together for me. That's just something that's always kind of been back and forth for me. And so I really don't tend to engage with it in a deck. And if it's like a main feature of a deck, or if I read the guidebook before I work with the deck, it can end up being a detraction because then it's like distracting me from being able to work with the deck how I want to. Yeah, it seems kind of silly now that I'm saying it. But yeah, it's an amazing deck. The Lovers card is a bit interesting. There's, group activities going on. I think it's fine. I don't really see this deck necessarily super sexually. I just see it as very, liberated and open. And I love that about it. But I just don't reach for it. And it doesn't really match a lot of my other decks. But yeah, I don't know. Now that I've had some distance from it and it's been a while, I think maybe I'm a little bit more feeling open to it. And that's not what I expected. But I think that's okay. I just... what I realized about my collection is that I tend to work with decks more, what do you call it? Like, I tend to use my decks around a certain practice or deity or entity that I want to like connect with or explore. But yeah, the Tarot of Her I got from Kickstarter, I want to say about a year ago. I don't remember the exact time frame, sometime within the last year. It is very elemental, and it's based on, the suits are blooms for fire, I believe, leaves for, okay, air, stems for water because they carry the water through the plant. And then you have roots for earth, which makes sense. Makes sense to me. Yeah. It's a little confusing sometimes, but it's doable. The thing that I loved about this deck is that it has, similarly, it has a sort of system around lunar phases, so directionally it can be read. It is a circular deck, as you can see, so that I really appreciate about it. And when I did get this deck, I found that this is the only deck that I've worked with that I've actually understood, and I was able to really work with those lunar directions. It took a little getting used to, but once I got it, like, it made sense to me and it clicked, and I was able to like actually make sense of it and work with it, and I really enjoyed it. And so yeah, this is more of a watercolor, a little bit looser art style, and the cards have keywords as well, so it's very interesting in that sense. I think the art is very beautiful. I tend to struggle with differently shaped decks. Like, I think a lot of folks can relate to that, and also the elemental associations with the quartz weren't how I do it, so I just kind of put a little washi tape and covered it. So yeah, I did that for some of them, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But then I don't know what happened. I think it's like there was just a lot. I don't know. I was being a little nitpicky, I guess, about the art and maybe just the way that the deck speaks to me. Like, a big thing about a deck is that like it has to speak to me. And the way I say that, what I mean by that is like a lot of times when I read cards, I hear the message as I'm pulling the cards. Like, I will hear the phrase, the statement, the meaning, like, you could say clairaudience, right? But like that's a lot of times will really make a deck work for me because I'll just hear it. And so that just makes it like such a smooth reading experience. And I feel like I'm just like understanding and getting the deck, and we can just communicate. But sometimes when that doesn't happen, I think maybe I'm a little spoiled in that regard. If I don't get that, I'm like, oh man, I have to like think. That's really ridiculous. But that's, it's not, it's just a little bit of that. So yeah, I feel that way sometimes, but I think this deck was kind of on and off with that. I don't really totally remember, but I just know that like something about the artwork was just sometimes a little bit off for me, as far as like just being able to just really grab hold of the meaning. I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say. Like just have it be available to me. It was sometimes just a little bit of something, but that's not a bad thing. It's just that when a deck has when I have to do a little bit more work to connect with the artwork, when I have to do a little bit more work, it just ends up sitting. And I think it was a new deck, had a lot going on at the time. And so, I'm going to fall back. That's the other thing. I'm going to fall back on decks that I love and that I know really well. And sometimes a new deck will be exciting for a little bit, and then like when I'm, not that I'm putting it away, but like I will just, gradually move on to other decks and think I'm going to come back, but then I don't. And now the sun is out again and it's really warm and pretty. So yeah, we have these two decks. I don't really know. That's tough because let me see. Let's look at the art and just see what comes up and how I feel about it, because I'm not really sure. I feel a little unsure about what all this means for these two cards. Let's see. Yeah, this one just, the artwork has a little bit more depth, as you can see. I remember one thing Thea said was just like cards on a background, or like pictures just on a plain background, just don't have the depth and they don't really read well. And I feel similarly. I realized I was like, oh shit, like I think I feel similarly. There's exceptions to that obviously, but I think in general I do like to see like more going on as far as like the depth of the image. And like obviously there's a lot going on in these cards, so it's not like it's not there. But I think also the line work is a little too harsh for me. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. Maybe the colors as well. I don't know, guys. But yeah, this one just feels more luminous. I don't know, maybe it's the border as well. I don't know. I love the fact that there's keywords, and it doesn't bother me. I don't like, sometimes the keywords can be a big miss. Yeah, I think Tarot of Her just makes more sense for me. I think like I need to just let go of the Mother Tarot once and for all. It's nice when I look at it alone and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll work with this. But then when I look at it next to a deck like this, I'm like, I would much rather not have this so that I could more focus on this, instead of feeling like I'm competing to try to work with both of these. So yeah, we're gonna keep. Also, this is a really interesting world card. I kind of love that. Yeah, I kind of really like this. Yeah, I think I want to stick here. So yeah, we're going to take the Tarot of Her, and we're going to keep her, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of work with her around, what we could be working with together specifically. Cause I always feel like a deck has more of a chance in my collection when there's like a reason I reach for it. And right now this is just kind of like a beautiful deck and a nice deck and a feminine deck and, a lunar deck, which is all great. But like, if I don't have a practice around that, I have other decks that like I've worked with in a lunar capacity, or that I have more associated with the moon. But I think that would be a good thing for her. But when it comes to the Mother Tarot, I think we're going to go into the, as they call, purgatory, just in the to-go pile. And we'll see if anybody's interested, then we're looking good. Obviously, it's in great. Like I said, I've used it all of 10 times. Like there's no, it's like so new. Like I can't even. Oh, there's one card that's sideways. See how you can tell? Like you can tell when there's one card that's not the right way. Like I said, that might not bother other people. You see how like every other card is this way and this one is sideways. It bothers me. And I can feel it. But yeah, it's not a bad deck. Beautiful. Actually, that's even just a bad way to describe it. It's a great deck. But anyways, yeah, let's move on to the next decks. Next up, we're going to look at these two beautiful decks, two plant decks. This is the La Flora Tarot. I have the digital guidebook. I do not have the physical. I do believe they had come with or like they came out with a physical one later, or maybe I just didn't buy it originally. I don't remember. I don't remember. But yeah, there is a seal, which I guess it got busted a little bit, but I didn't break the seal. I went through the bottom. I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't used this deck in a year and a half, maybe even 2. It's been a long, long time since I have opened this deck. Like, I literally have not even opened the box. It's from Expert Playing Cards, as you saw, so it's like, I'm pretty sure the same as the Pagan Otherworld. It is a cream and black deck. It has some extra cards, which I don't think I have them all in here. I think I only have one, which is maybe the black card, because I just really like that. There's like a love, luck, and something extra card. The box is, I mean, it's just a beautifully produced deck. Like, it's so lovely. It's really, really lovely. I really enjoy it. And then we have the Herb Crafter's Tarot. So this is an indie deck. I believe this is out of print, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something I want to keep in mind if that is truly the case. And this is mass market. I could get it anytime, but I really hate the idea. I don't know if other people feel this, but like, I actually don't end up getting mass market decks because of the fact that I feel like I sometimes end up feeling like it's more of a waste, because it's like, if I buy it and I don't like it, even though I can get it again, it's not like I can sell it really easily. Not that I can, any deck is guaranteed to sell, but it just feels like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know, actually. But yeah, this deck I have rarely ever used. I think I've similarly maybe used it like 10 times most. I've gone through it and I've admired the way other people have used it, but like, I'm looking at it now, it looks so pretty. This was on my list of like, I'm definitely getting rid of this deck because I'm never gonna use it. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't. I think it's because for a long time, my kind of thought process was like, I personally love plants. I'm not an herbalist or anything, but like, I think just energetically, I connect to plants really well. And so I wanted to build those connections with plants in my area and over time, instead of going to tarot decks or oracle decks to sort of to give me a keyword or give me an idea about a plant. Like, I like to go out and actually feel the plant and like see where I am in my life, how I can communicate with that plant. Like, that's the way I go about it. Like, I communicate with them. And so I don't want someone else's, and not even just someone else's, not like it's one person's, it's like the history, right? So it's not like it's a bad thing. It's not. But like, I think I was just at the time where I was like sort of doing that and really gaining comfortability with that. And I felt like if I expected cards to, I'll just start flipping just so you can see, I guess. If I expected cards to show me about those, I just felt like I'd be influenced in a way that I just wanted it to be really natural. And I obviously eventually, not that I never read anything, I do, but I just wanted it to be my own research and, just organically, naturally, not with somebody who put a deck together. Then again, I'm doing it on the internet, not very natural. God. I can't deal with myself right now. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. But yeah, so yeah, I had a hesitance is pretty much what I'm trying to say. I had a hesitance around plant decks, but obviously I did get them here and there when I felt like really called to them, and I felt like they would aid in not only my tarot, but also in just being able to gain exposure to plants that are not in my area, and just see. What I love about this deck is you get to see how decks are used, and it's such beautiful artwork. This one I feel like has more of a like historical, like in the guidebook, it has more of like a historical, I don't know, it just feels more serious. Yeah, it's more serious. Whereas this one I feel like is more like hands in the dirt, if that makes sense. It still feels more academic. Yeah, it feels more academic, whereas this feels more like experiential. Which is really interesting because these are the two sides of me. Like, I will have the thing where I'm like, I don't want to read any books, I just want to experience it. And other times where I'm just like, did you know that such and such and such, like, and I'm doing the research and I feel like I'm like learning so much and I'm so excited and I'm like connecting both of them, and that's when I'm most happiest. What does that tell me? I have no idea what this means, guys. I barely work with either of these decks, but they're both very beautiful. I think I wish maybe there were little pops of color in here. But then again, I love a black and white deck, so I don't know. I'm torn. I don't know, guys. I always really hope that like you guys will glean something from what I'm saying and understand me from an outside perspective in a way that in my own brain I don't understand and tell me what I should do. But I think that's a psychological thing that I personally deal with. So I don't know. The problem is this deck I have to study. Like because there's no color, because there's no picture, like here, like I'm gonna get something from this, whereas this I'm like there's nada. Obviously there's, let's see, there's mums. Okay, I have a thing with mums. I mean, it is my the, what is it called, the flower for my birth month, November, which my birthday just passed, so happy belated birthday to me. Yeah, like I have a thing with chrysanthemums, and there's a poem that I love about chrysanthemums. So yeah, there's that. Like my stuff is in here. It's just not as readily available. And then marigold. You know, this just gives me something where I don't need to have an experience. Yeah, and obviously the guidebook is right here. So if I really wanted to, I could just pull it out and have that experience myself when I want to. I think the guidebook too is just, I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to put... I don't really feel in the mood to work with either of these decks right now, so I don't know what this means, because I like to test the deck 1 or 2 more times post this experience. Let me just say this. I had it in my mind that I was going to get rid of this, but a few weeks ago, I pulled it out, and it was kind of dope. And so I was like, oh shit. This one, I never plan on getting rid of, because I just kind of have a sentimental attachment to its aesthetic and to its vibe. Oh God, help me. And so I never plan on getting rid of it. But at this point, I think I'm just going to keep them both. We're just going to move on. It's fine. They're plant decks. They're not going to go out of style, or what, I don't even know the word, but we're keeping them. Yeah. If I'm that torn, there's no reason to suffer and make myself get rid of a deck or feel like I have to put a deck in the to-go box or in purgatory if I don't want to. So I don't know, for a second I realized like, oh yeah, bitch, you have control. Keep them both. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully this is simple. We have the Literary Witches Oracle and the John Bauer Tarot. Both of these I have modded, and both of these are decks for me that are about storytelling. And yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna do here, and let me just pull them out so I can tell you. This Literary Witches is about, well, it's not about, I'll show you the back so you can read it for yourself if you want to pause and read. Guidebook is very small. I mean, it's just very thin, I should say. Has a little bit. It's about women writers, and not even just writers, some figures of other kinds, but I guess in the idea of like, you know, storytellers and, you know, yeah, thing like that. And then it has these lighter cards that are just things. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but let me just check. The witch's materials. That's what I thought they were. I thought it was the witch's tools. But yeah, these decks, I think I'm getting rid of this deck. I chopped off this tiny bit of the border. It had like a white border around these ones, and I just kind of chopped it off to just give it a more borderless look. And then I cut these obviously just to match. I think it had the white border too, if I remember correctly. And this one I just completely chopped down to the artwork. I think it had a top and a bottom, and I just chopped it down. It's so tiny. It's like a little pocket deck. I'm going to get, this is what I have in mind. I'm going to get rid of this because I just rarely ever use it. And I thought about getting the Compendium of Witches, not instead, but like as a similar type of deck that I think I could work with better. I forget, it might have been Thea actually who mentioned saying like what energy I need to embody for like with the witches cards or whatever they're called, and then the other ones as more like divinatory, you know, using in that way. But so I might, I'm thinking of that. I was like, maybe I should try that with this, and I might just give it a shot and see what I think. I just wanted to eventually like read all of these artists and all these writers, but I don't think I will. Like, I just don't think I will. And if I do, it's gonna take me so long. Like, I might as well just write a list down and get rid of the deck. But with the Compendium of Witches, which is, like I said, a whole nother deck, I feel like I just wanted to see more brown people in it, and I didn't. And so that's why I originally didn't go for it. And that's a conversation I honestly been thinking about. Like, I actually do want to have on my channel really soon, and just kind of talk about my general feelings about whiteness in tarot. And yeah, I just have a lot of feelings, and I think generally I'm just like, I thought I would just naturally let those kind of things come up as they come up. But I just feel the need to talk about them lately, so I think I'm gonna do that at some point, but we'll see when and how I feel like I want to do that. But generally speaking, I like my decks to, not be all white, because it just makes it feel a little bit more like me, and the deck can include my experience, which I guess is pretty basic. But I also understand that like not every deck is going to be that way. It's not that I expect every single deck to be that way, but I think a woefully small number of decks that don't necessarily need to be all white are all white. But every artist has their prerogative to paint and draw what they want. So yeah, just that's my general feeling about it, right? Yeah. But then not every diverse deck is a deck that I'm necessarily interested in. So then that makes the pool even smaller for me. So yeah, that's kind of my gripe with this John Bauer Tarot. It's just not it's not my history. It's not my story. It's not my lineage. I don't feel like, obviously there's some interest, but it's just not there for me. There are a few cards and the only ones that really stick out to me are the ones with the moose in it. And I don't believe I've passed any of them. But yeah, the only ones that stick out to me are the ones with the moose. Like that one. And some of them, like this one, I could feel that. But for the most part, it just like, I end up just staring at it instead of like getting it. And that's okay, but that just tells me it's not for me. Yeah, so, yes, oh my god, yes. So these are the cards that really speak to me. Otherwise, I think there's one more I want to say, but I could be wrong. I kind of like that one too. But yeah, I thought there was one more. I could be wrong. Or maybe I passed it and I don't remember. Or maybe it's just these two. It might just be these two. For that reason, I think I'm going to keep this deck. Keep these two for my own personal use, for my own spiritual, magical use. And maybe I'll, creative, magical, spiritual use, right? My moose stuff. Otherwise, I might just use the rest of these as bookmarks. I don't know. But yeah, I don't feel like, I think I'm just going to like move on from thinking that I can use this deck in any functional way other than just like a deck of 76 bookmarks. And this one, I'm going to give it one more shot and try the idea with the, what energy to embody kind of thing. Because I did use it before when I first got it, and I really did like it. But this was very early in my tarot journey, and so it just ended up not sticking around. I think the art style, like I said, is a little bit more on the flatter side, like we talked about. And so that also plays a role. And then when you have two different types of cards, it just makes it a little bit more complex or nuanced to work with. So yeah, I'm going to keep John Bauer, but decommission it as a deck. I don't know what else I'll do with these, but maybe I'll just throw them away. I don't know. But yeah, so that is the plan for Literary Witches and John Bauer. Next, we have these two beautiful blue decks. We have the Portals of Presence, which is a mass market oracle, you could call it. And then we have the Cerulean Sequence, which is an indie oracle that I got on Kickstarter. It comes with a little bag. I believe it came with the bag, or maybe I ordered the bag. I don't remember. But there is a box, and I don't have it with me. in storage. But yeah, so the reason why I'm kind of putting these two together is because there's kind of a sort of tapping into another world element. So this is the back of the deck if you want to read. This is the same kind of deck as the soul cards, which a lot of folks have. I don't actually have the soul cards, which I think maybe is the reason why I tend to go back and forth with this deck. There's no guidebook. It's just kind of giving you ideas of how you can work with the deck. With my background in expressive arts therapy, I feel like this makes a lot of sense to me. But at the same time, sometimes I struggle to find a use for it. Like, I'll like use it for something and then I won't use it for a really long time. I don't really have like a general practice that I use it for. I'd be tempted to sometimes use them for like a monthly draw or like year ahead or something like that. I think I did one year, I did like a council of the year. And it was kind of loose. I wanted it to be a little bit more in depth, but I ended up keeping it a little bit more loose. And so I think maybe that contributes to why I feel not as like deeply connected to using it. And once again, I did get it for maybe a couple of cards that I really like the most. Sometimes it can be a little disturbing, maybe some of the pictures, depending, confronting is maybe the word. And then we have this cerulean sequence, which is a deck based on numerology. And obviously it's cerulean, so it's all blue. It's amazing. It's by James R. Eads. Super cool deck. And I think when I first got this deck, I talked about how this was like the most exciting Kickstarter I had ever received in my entire life. So yeah, it's another world in this deck. And so I think that's what kind of makes them feel similar to me, because even though they're very like unique, obviously this one does have a guidebook, which is kind of just like a little notebook. And, you know, I think it's really cool. And it has like time related to it. So like it'll be like, give it time a month, or this one is 4 years. So every one has its little description. It's all very like handwritten, which I think is really cool. And then each number has its like number page. So you'll have like the 4 page, which will give you like a bunch of stuff about the 4. And so it's really cool. And it gives this sort of like other dimension feel to it. And so there's 6 cards for each, I believe it's 6 cards for each. Yeah, I think there's 6 cards for each number, 0 through 9, and really cool. Or I should say 1 through 9, then 0, because 0 comes last. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And I remember I got a comment a while back, and I took note of it, that someone asked like, what are ways you can work with the cerulean sequence? And I started to work on some ideas for that. I didn't get around to filming it just yet, because I really wanted to like make sure I went through all of that thoroughly and that I really kind of stand behind it, because I know in a way making that video is going to be like a proponent for you purchasing it, whether or not you feel like it's, well, you know, could potentially come off as me convincing you to buy it, right? As opposed to just like for people who do have it, ideas. So it can convince you to buy something that you may or may not work with. So I just want to make sure that I'm really giving it a thorough look. And to be honest with you, I haven't worked with it in a little bit, and I find that like the difficulty with this deck, and I don't know if I've talked about it before. I think I did, and that's maybe the reason why somebody did ask about it. I don't remember, but the difficulty with this deck is that if you don't work with it for a while, you'll have to sort of relearn the seedling script a little bit. So like your brain has to sort of catch up again and like figure out what the letters are, because there is no key. You have to come up with a key yourself, which I did. But then I guess you could go into your computer and like copy each of the scripts and like make it on the computer for yourself and print it out. But like I went in and wrote the little seedling script. And so sometimes like my version of what the cards look like the letters look like aren't exact. And so sometimes I'm like, what is that again? And I wrote it kind of small. I wrote it in my passport size traveler's notebook insert. And it's like the grid is like 3 millimeters, so it's super tiny. That's a me problem. But the problem in general, like I said, is that if you don't work with the deck often enough, you're going to sort of forget what these are, unless you work with it enough that you start to remember what these keywords are. So yeah, That's one challenge that I think with it, and I think you sort of have to have a way of working with it too. It's definitely something that, unlike the portals of presence, like granted, if you just have a way that your practice works, this could just be good for you. You could just put it as like, okay, the people in the situation, these are the two energies that are at play, or like you can kind of read it in a lot of different ways. Whereas this one, I feel like you can, but because it has like these extra elements that make it a little bit more difficult, like the seedling script and how it's just a number, and how sometimes the images are just like very simple. Like you have a fountain here, you may have your thoughts about that, but I don't know. I just feel like this has a little bit more barrier than this, even though this has a guidebook and this doesn't. Maybe you disagree. Let me know what you think. If you have both of these decks, or just from your perception of them, what might be harder or more easy for you. I'm inclined to keep both. Honestly, simply because I'm not getting rid of the cerulean sequence. That's for number one. Like, as much as like my work with it has gone down a little bit, it's a very valuable deck that I will tend to use for timing. That's something I will pull it out for, because it has a very clear timing structure. I know that tarot has that built in with like the decans and things like that. And obviously the elements, even if you didn't look at the decans, you can look at the elements and the seasons, like, and connect those together. Like, maybe some people have those associations, or, obviously you have like the fire element or whatever that is for you. Maybe it might be summer, right? So there's some of that built in, so you don't necessarily need this deck. And I'm sure there's other decks that even have it a lot more clear. But, that being said, I feel like that's one thing I will come to it for. I usually will come to it for like, sort of not problem solving, but like kind of like a very like rudimentary assessment of things. Like, I find it has a very like, it has a sort of like stripped down bareness to it, even though it's its own little world. So it like kind of speaks to you in this like, it's not like fairies, but it is kind of like, it's kind of like dystopian, not dystopian. It's like past and future and fantastical at the same time. So yeah, it's very, very cool. But sometimes I just don't have all of the reasons to work with it. So yeah, I just don't end up pulling out a lot of decks. Like, there's not every deck that I have. I like different decks, and this is what I think my issue has been. I like different decks that are like a little bit, that's why there's a lot of decks on this list. But I like decks that just make you work for something, or that are just have a different perspective or interesting imagery, etc., etc. But then that bites me in the ass, because what happens is a lot of the decks that I have end up being decks that I'm not going to reach for on a, regular basis. They're going to have a sort of like more niche purpose or a niche time frame. And so I'm trying to cut that down a little bit, Portals of Presence, I really, really like it. I'm just torn, because I feel like maybe if I had, I wanted to work with the Prairie Majesty with it, but I don't know that I'm going to keep that deck either, because it, like I said, with the flat type of artwork, it's a little too flat for me. Even though I really like the system that it has, I don't reach for it. And so I maybe think that there's just something better for me, but that's a conversation for when that deck comes up. And I feel like that would be the deck that would work with this, but because both of them are sort of iffy, it's not even like I want to work with them together. I forget, in my primal and primordial decks video, there was another deck or two that I worked with this that I don't remember exactly what they were. But like I said, even then, off the top of my head, since I can't remember, other than the Prairie Majesty, which was probably the strongest pair that I remember, if that's not the case, then I'm probably just not super like attached to this deck, or it doesn't have like a pair that makes sense for like a certain reading that I would do with it. And so for that reason, I'm like, should I just get rid of it and maybe at some point get the soul cards and try that instead? I don't know. I'm going to put it in purgatory though, because I just feel like I could use it I tried to use it outdoors with like not plants, but like just energy. Like, I did like a Spirit of Place reading, I think like once maybe. And that was really cool. But this is just such a big deck. Like it's very big. And so I don't really want to carry this around. Then again, I'm not a mini deck person either. I don't carry decks around. Like, I don't use, like, decks in nature. They have very specific ways that they connect. And bringing cards out to read within nature isn't always my thing. It's something that I, like, ideally would love to do more of. But I don't end up having cards with me when I'm out and about. And I don't really have decks that I would want to carry out with me. I think it's winter. Winter might be a nice time to try it. I'm going to put it in purgatory if I have the inkling to do it. You know what? Actually, I'm going to put it in my bag that I carry around with my SKT. Because I do carry around my Spirit Keeper's Tarot. Because I do, do the meetings with my friend. And I like to work on the book of readings when I'm out at a park or something. Even if I have to just sit in my car and do it, I like to do that. I don't like to do it when I'm inside as much. I don't know, it's just kind of become a thing. So I think maybe I'll put it in there. And if I feel the need to work with it outdoors, I will try it. And maybe I'll try to compile these and these like stipulations that I have and see if, trying them works. I don't think I'm doing as good as I wanted to with letting go of decks. But I think there's more that I'm gonna let go of. So we shall see. That's the Portals of Presence, and I think I'm trying too much, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more strict as I go. Let's try to be strict, guys. Very strict. So next up, we have these shadow decks. Let's see if I can be a little bit more strict with these. We have an indie deck, Oracle Door, which I think just is such a disservice to this deck because it sounds so much better in French. But if you don't speak French, Oracle Door is just so, for me, so sad. But I always try to say Oracle d'Or. That's my best. Yeah. And then we have the Lantern Oracle, which is a mass market deck. I don't know why I keep comparing mass market decks to indie decks, but it's just, I guess, what it is. This deck I've trimmed and edged it in like a reddish brown color. It's not super strong, honestly. Wish it was a little bit better, but, it is what it is. It has a nice little guidebook, and it has suits, which I'm going to take note of these spreads here. So I'm going to look at that in a minute. Post. I have written in this one, which I don't know why I did that because I usually don't ever do that. But anyway, the suits are Maiden, Mother, Guardian, and Crone, which I think is really cool. But I think the thing with this deck that I don't end up using it very much, I think it's not only because it has like a little bit of a realistic art style that's just like almost a little too realistic, which I don't have a lot of decks like this. The only deck that I have that I think matches this kind of art style to some degree is the Tarot of the Divine Masculine, which is the complete opposite, which might be really interesting to work with. But yeah, I don't know. So you would think with what I was saying about the artwork not being flat that this would be perfect. But I think the other issue with it is that the keywords and like sentences and phrases sometimes are just like hard to reconcile with both. And so sometimes I'm just not sure. And I think I remember Racine saying that you kind of have to decide when working with this deck to like decide to only look at the picture for your reading or to look at the words for your reading, or at least use that as like your main guiding starting point. And I think that's actually really good advice. But then in practice, like I'm gonna look at the picture as a whole, so it's like hard to just look at one thing and then it works. It just doesn't always work is what I'm saying. And I think I've realized that I just have a hard time with mass market oracles and oracles in general. I'm realizing I think I was better with oracles in the past, but I don't know, lately I've just realized that like I just lean towards tarot, and then if it's a tarot / oracle, that's cool. Like the Tarot of Her with the keywords, I think that's really cool. And because it has its own kind of system, it ends up not being like, it ends up having the possibility of being used as, more than a tarot, and maybe in a more just oracular sense besides the tarot. Not fully, but you get what I mean. Like, Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle is an example of that. I think there's another one that I have or I'm interested in. I don't remember, but that kind of thing works for me. But yeah, this has just been tough. I don't know. It's just been tough. And then we have this, which is a beautiful deck. It's based on the artwork of Odilon Redon and his Noirs. And I think in general, like I have such a love for this, like the theming of this deck, but in practice, the keywords are just very, like you have things like liminality, and then you have things like, where was it? Orpheus and Ophelia and things like that, which are just not my, and Queen of Sheba, which is like, it just kind of has this mix of general and specificness that sometimes just kind of messes with my mind when I'm working with it. It's like gold edged matte, and it has like a little, I don't know, what's the word? Gilding, I guess you call it, is what we call it. But yeah, Orpheus, there's that. And so sometimes, and the images are kind of not very, this is really hard to see. The images are a little vague to put it that way. And so it's like not like you can really immediately know what you're looking at. Honestly, I think I'm talking myself out of it in a sense. When I have read with it, it has read really nicely, but then there's also other times it's kind of a hit or miss. And I guess in the same way, there's times where it works and times where it doesn't work. And I like that it's like very luxe. I was supposed to say luxurious and luxe, but lug. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I go back and forth on it because, like I said, it's a back and forth experience where it's like, oh my God, that was so amazing. And then there's like Quasimodo. And I'm just like, not that I can't get meaning from that. And the guidebook is really nice. Like it is really nice, but I just don't, it's really important for me, I think in a lot of ways, not to have to look at a guidebook. I really value that. And so what I would have to do with this deck is I would have to really make a journal for it or journal with it every time I use it. It just has more needs involved. This is more needy like in the moment, and this is more needy like in the moment and in general. Because at least with this, it's like I can read with it. I just have to maybe set my expectations beforehand and be more intentional in the process. But with this one, it's both. Like I can't just set myself in beforehand and just read with it and be able to like go on my merry way. No. I still have to actually sit with the cards and sit with the deck, which is real and which is fine. But it's just, I don't want to do that with every deck. So I feel like I'm convincing myself not to keep this deck. So I'm going to put it in a to-go box because as much as I really like it, I just don't think it's super realistic to keep because I don't connect with the artwork enough. I think I like the feeling and the beauty of the deck itself more than I love the beauty and the experience of the images as a deck, like as divination. Does that make sense? Like it's like this is an art piece, but it's not divinatory for me. Yeah, so it's like I want it because it's so pretty. It's like a nice product. I don't know. Yeah. It's like when you like the packaging but not the thing. That's what I feel like. It's like the packaging is nice. Like the format is nice. It's like the soft touch, rose petal as they call it. But I don't actually, the product itself is not really usable to me. I just find it to be a very beautiful thing. So yeah, I think I'm going to put this to go. At the very least, yeah. I don't need this deck. I don't need it. Oh, that's hard. I don't believe myself when I say that. But yeah, so let me like actually just pull an example really quick. This, right? I don't even necessarily know how to pronounce that. But it's in alphabetical order, which is good. Like, thank God, right? So here we have the guidebook and you can pause to read it. So when it gets clear. Yeah. Pause, give it a look, let me know what you think. I think it's doable, right? It's like you have the keywords, you have the shadow meaning, and then you have like a little write-up, and you can get something from that. But overall, it's just work. And I don't want to work. And I think I'm just more, like when I say rose-colored glasses, like this is the kind of thing where it's like, wow, you can really, really have a feeling about a thing. But like ultimately, like if you just have a bunch of oracle decks that you don't use, like maybe you're not into oracle decks, or maybe oracle decks don't work for you right now. And it's not to say I want to get rid of all my oracle decks, but I just find that like lately I just have such a low tolerance for oracle decks, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really gravitate towards them unless there's a specific purpose or reading, which I guess is the whole point, obviously. But yeah, let's get rid of this and let's we'll give this another chance. We'll give this some time because, I don't know. We'll just give it some time because I think it's still a good deck. I want to, is this me not being strict? I don't really use it. I really, really like it. I think it's really good. I just don't really use it. I find myself having a hard time with feminine decks in general. I don't know why. Obviously, we could say that there's some, internalized stuff to work through. But then I'm not sure that this is the format either. So I'm just not sure. Maybe if you guys have any thoughts on how you've used this deck. I think I've asked that before, to be honest with you. But it just hasn't clicked yet. And maybe I'm going to try the spreads in here. That's something that always really helps me get a sense of a deck. I'm sure I did an intro reading and stuff like that, but it's just been so long since I've not only done that reading, but also had other good readings with it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to definitely this is going in the to-go pile. If I change my mind, I reserve the right to change my mind and keep it a little bit longer. I'm not rushing, but this one definitely feels like a no, and this one feels like a maybe, is what I'm saying. So yeah, that's where we're at with those. Sorry for the lighting changes, my dears. It's winter, so I'm trying to use the sunlight, and then I'm trying to use indoor lights, and I'm kind of playing around with it. So I'm sorry for the back and forth. I'm going to try to edit it in post so it's not too much of a difference, but it's been kind of tough because I've kind of come back and forth doing this video, and I've tried different things. So bear with me, as wintertime is just a more difficult time to make videos, to be honest. So anyway, we have some Liminal 11 decks, and to be honest with you, I'm probably going to get rid of both of these, but I'll just give you a look. Seed and Sickle is just kind of a disappointment because I remember a while ago, I definitely have showed in video that that I was modding this deck. It comes with 2 guidebooks. I don't even want to give the reason because I'm actually just kind of annoyed. I didn't even realize I had this much emotion going on. It's like a dawn and a dusk guidebook because you just get different perspective. One's like personal growth and one's more like career. I don't know, something like that. I really don't care. I'm sorry. And the problem is I tried to edit this deck and mod it by giving it writing keywords in here. All right, those faces are trying to catch the, yeah. I put keywords on the cards, and I was really trying to use what was in both of the guidebooks and my personal relationship to the deck and narrow it down to 3 to 5 keywords that I would put on the card. I tried to put them scattered, which I don't think actually was a good idea. I should have just put them all right here. And it just was too long of a project because I decided that I was going to actually go through the books, each one. And so that's just 50 cards, and it takes I take my time and I'm thinking and I'm choosing, and then I have to actually write it, decide where I'm going to write it. And so it takes 10 to 20 minutes per card. And when you're looking at how many cards is in this deck, wow, no numbers of how many cards there are. Let's just call it 50, right? Does it say on the back? Contains 55 and 2 guidebooks. Yes, 55 cards at 20 minutes per. Let's call it 15 minutes per, right? And that means I just did the math, about 13 plus hours of work just to mod this deck. Have you ever spent 13 hours modding a deck? Maybe not, but I haven't. And so I've done about a little over half. So let's say I've done 8 hours, 7-8 hours worth. I don't want to do anymore. I don't really care anymore. And I don't know, you can probably tell I'm actually pretty upset. It's a nice deck, but honestly don't even like the cardstock very much. At this point, I don't even know what I would do with it because it's halfway done. It has my handwriting. I don't even know if anybody would want this deck, but I'm just going to move it. I don't know if I'll donate it, ask somebody if they might want it for free. I don't freaking someone that I know, just give it to someone. I don't even know if that's worth it or if I should use these as bookmarks. It's a nice box. I could probably repurpose the box. I don't know, but It's kind of just a disappointment for me because I wanted to do something with it, but like ultimately, I think from the very beginning I knew I probably shouldn't have. And then we have the new chapter tarot, which is another sort of disappointment, but in a different way. I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and this will hopefully be the last time I say it. Which these boxes are really annoying. Like, it's just so annoying. It's not that big of a deal, but it's annoying. When we talk about the Oracle door and how nice that experience is, Liminal 11s were just so annoying. I don't know if they still do it like this. I don't know. I like the hardcover book. It's nice. But this deck pisses me off for one reason, and it's that it's a very beautiful deck. It's very like thothy in its visuals. Like it's very geometric in that way. Yet, and I know that the creator made it post, I believe, losing a partner. I don't know if it was via divorce or their, partner passing away. Yeah, so I looked at it. It was, it was a divorce, and it was a very complicated one as an immigrant. I don't know if that's the creator or someone that they know. I believe it's them. I'm not quite sure. I want to say it is, but I don't want to be wrong, so don't take my word for it. But yeah, and it's called the New Chapter Tarot, and like because I've not gone through the same exact experience, but I can relate to the themes in it. I just wish the guidebook had more. I wish it was more fleshed out. I wish there was more emotion with it, and it's like the pictures are sometimes so not vague, but like some of them are. Like it's nice, but like I want to know why you chose what you chose. Like I want to know more, and it just makes me sad whenever I read with it because either I want there to be more of a personal connection. Like this Six of Swords, like this is let's look at this. Six of Swords says, a necessary but painful change after hard truths. Sorry, it's hard to see, but a necessary but painful change after hard truths are realized. You are seeing things clearly, perhaps for the first time, but clarity is a cold comfort. As you leave behind the comfortable yet false, take a moment to mourn the loss of this reality. Even if it was imperfect. This is a call to improve your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Your assumptions were tested and most likely failed. Beautiful description, right? But what the... No, I'm not going to say what does it have to do with the card. You can kind of see it, right? It's a unicorn. The unicorn is hurt. Is there really needed this much of the red liquid? And I get it, but it's like, if I didn't read that in the guidebook, I would be looking at this like, what the hell? And tell me more. Like, obviously you came up with this symbolism and this imagery, and it's like you have these two figures, they're facing away from each other. This unicorn was hurt. It's like your dreams and your ideas were not what you thought. It's, they were tested and they failed. And then what's that in particular? I just wish you would have told me a story. Tell me, why did you pick a unicorn? Is that related to you and your life? And obviously no creator is required to give us intimate details of their life and their experiences. But it's like, it's just frustrating for me because I'm like, wow, this would have just been more of a connection for the reader if there was a little bit more just on the symbols chosen. Not even, obviously, you don't have to tell me the story. I want the story. I want a thick guidebook, like I want a book. But even if you would have given me something just more, I would have been happier. And so generally speaking, I think just because it kind of pisses me off in that sense, like, tell me more. Why? And like I said, if you read the little book, it's there. And so maybe somebody else would do that. But like, for me, like I just said, I don't want to feel like I have to go to the guidebook every time I want to read with a deck. If there's meaning in there, then it's something that I want to invest in. But if you have this, it just doesn't match up for me. Like if you have a quote-unquote Rider-Waite-Smith Thothi deck, and and then you have this tiny booklet. It should be very straightforward, but I think some of them, I don't know, maybe someone else would think it's straightforward, but for me, it's not. So that's what I have to say. And even though it could be straightforward, there's just more there. There's layers, and I don't get the layers, and I feel robbed. But it's fine. It's not, it's a me thing. I'm not like ragging on the creator. I think it's a beautiful deck, and they did what was their creative inspiration and desire for this creation. And it's beautiful, but it just doesn't work for me because I want more out of it, and there's a disconnect. So these two decks are done for me. I'm sorry for the anger. I'm sorry. I feel so bad, but I have to be honest, okay? That's how I feel. So yeah, bye-bye. So we're back a couple days later. I didn't get to finish the set that I wanted to finish that day to complete for this video. I definitely will be doing a part 2 just because a lot of my decks fit into this category of deeper decks, study type of decks that just feel like they need a little bit more energy and I don't know, something specific. Who knows what that undefined specific thing is that I'm trying to figure out for these decks. But anyway, yeah, let's get into these ones. I don't know if I said this, but there's no rhyme or reason as to how I'm choosing these. I'm just kind of going with what seems to make sense for the moment. So yeah, we have 3 decks here. We have Navigator's Tarot of the Mystic Sea, which has its own bag, very surprising. I've modded this deck. I don't know why it has been bestowed the honor of having its own bag. I think it's just because when I bought like 3 of these bags from a shop a while ago, and this one stuck out as just like absolutely meant for this deck. Those are the backs. But yeah, it just kind of made sense because it was just such a bright, colorful deck, and I don't have any other decks that have like this much color, this saturated, inside of a white border. So it feels like they just pop as these like very saturated, vibrant pieces of art. I don't know, something very specific about it. But yeah, I trimmed these cards just a tiny bit. As you can see from the title page, it's meant to be a little bit bigger. I just cut the bottoms because it had like the way that the titles had like a line and then there was more border, and I was like, why have that much line? It'd be nice if the top and the bottom kind of had a similar size. So yeah, I think this works for me. I kind of like it. I pulled these cards out because they're kind of my 2026 cards, and I don't know, something about, let's put these aside for a second. Something about this deck always wants to work with like my year ahead or whatever, like practice that I want to do for like pulling cards for the month. Specifically like year ahead. Whenever I want to do it like in advance. That's what this deck, sometimes I'm like, oh, I gotta be this one. And I remember I had, I've definitely mentioned this before, but I use this deck. I'm gonna put these to the side so I don't actually lose them. Or lose track of them. It has a little guidebook, and it has like a little poem that goes with it. And what I bought separately was this massive book that's like, I want to say it's like $20. I don't remember. It was a while ago, but like, and it kind of has an interesting order. I think the majors are like in the back. They all have like a poem that comes with it. It has reimagined the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is a big part of this deck, and it has its own like system for that. I think it's pretty good. Like, I'm not nowhere near an expert or even well versed, even say, on the Kabbalah or anything like that, but it's just a big part of this deck. And yeah, it has its own, it's reimagined the paths of the majors. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Anyway, so like, if you know, you could just get an example and see here with the chariot that it's representing the 18th passage from, I don't actually know what is happening here. But yeah, it's different. And like I was gonna say earlier that I cut myself off from saying, I used it for the SKT because there was a point during the Spirit Keepers Tarot book of readings asked for you to like pull it was like a 1 card reading in there, and like you were meant to go out and pull cards from like a couple of other decks and kind of look at the meanings of that card through those decks lenses and kind of, you know, have that be some type of synthesis of a message. But yeah, I had gotten the Hierophant from that card, so I chose this one, and it was really like amazing, and it was like really nice crossover. So shit, yeah, I really liked it, and it was really cool, and I've marked this up. I'm not getting rid of this deck. No way, no how. It's very weird. I still don't even fully know how I want to work with it when it comes to anything other than like year ahead stuff. We'll flip it when I have the others. But then you have the Story Medicine Tarot, the Baba Yaga edition. Very cool. I really like this deck. I mean, I've definitely worked with it quite a bit. But it's always kind of like, it's very different. So it doesn't have a guidebook. It's from Game Crafter. I think that's where they sell their decks. I don't know if they have another website. I'm actually not even sure. But it has a very cool system. It follows like the moon cycles. They each are associated. I mean, you can read it. I'm not good with my words today, but I had to film this and finish this portion of the video. But yeah, it says before you start, you have to have the cards in order and read through the whole story, which I did. But it's not an area that I'm like extremely familiar with the stories. And so it requires some kind of research on my part to just obviously have a foundation that this deck would be useful for. And I just think that's in line with how I want to use a deck that involves a certain culture, right? But then at the same time, there's no guidebook, and the artwork is just, it's all red, which is really cool, not gonna lie. But sometimes, because it's kind of has the abstract imagery, and even the writing has a more abstract thing, it's not really super suitable for just working with it like divinatorily, whatever. It's not really suitable for that. And then the worst part, I love the sayings, but like sometimes I'm like, okay, how do I apply that? These are really cool. The quotes are super cool. I love how they have this just like little poem, and they have I think it's usually they have like a verb up there. The worst part is the majors that just don't have anything but this abstract picture, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it as an idea, as a concept, as art. It's amazing. The problem is it can often not be enough for me to glean something from, and that's just me, right? That's a me issue. And I think it's like the Heindel in the way that it requires more from you. It requires your time. You can't get like a quick reading out of it. That's just not how it works, which obviously seems very much in line with Baba Yaga, right? So that's that. And then next we have the Shining Tribe Tarot, which I have in this like little yellow drawstring bag, which I'm surprised hasn't gone to shit because they usually do. Yeah, so these are the backs. This is the previous edition with the yellowish borders. When I saw a couple of years ago, well, I think it came out last year, but I think I had seen it even before that it was coming out, the newer edition with just the white borders. I thought that was going to be so cool. But it's like $50, so it's kind of like up there with like Fyodor Pavlov mass market deck that's kind of more on the expensive side, right? Like more of an indie deck price. Sorry for the shaking. So I don't know if I can justify just getting another copy, because I do think the white border is going to be really cool, but then this feels super special that it's like, it's different. You don't get like a yellow gradient border, like. And obviously the artwork is more, I want to say primitive, because I think that's the intention. It's meant to be like something that is, I can't think of, I'm so bad with words today. But yeah, it's meant to have that more, I don't know what to call it. I was going to say like folk art. Like, why can't I think of words today? Yeah, it just has more of that primitive art style, which is really, really cool. And it comes with this big ass book, like big ass book. How many pages? Like, over 300 pages. Like, it's a lot, right? It even has a glossary. So it's really great. Where's my bookmark at? Right here. So I think my most recent card that I had worked with a long ass time ago was the Speaker Stones. We just saw that card. Super cool. But yeah, it's also very different in the fact that like the suits are different. You have the tree. I don't even remember. Hopefully it's here. Yes, the trees, the rivers, the birds, the stones. And then obviously, well, not obviously, but the courts are also changed. So it's like the place of trees, the keeper of something. Let's see what it is. Oh, we were way past that. Are they at the end? They might be at the end. Yeah, they're at the end. Okay, so we have the place of trees, the knower of trees, the gift of trees, and the speaker of trees. Super cool. I mean, fucking amazing. If you ask me, I love it. And I love even just the fact that they all have like a little poem. And it's really cool, but I just don't be having the time, and I don't have a plan for how I want to work with this deck and all of its, you know, layers, right? And everything that Rachel intended for it to be. So I just end up having these decks that are a lot, and I don't really know what to do with them. And so I think I'm going to keep them all, to be honest with you. I don't have an intention for letting any of these go. I think if there's anyone that I might let go, it's the story medicine. I just, as much as I am a writer myself, I don't work with decks narratively myself as much. So I find that that's kind of what it's probably suited for. And like I said with the Heindel, it just requires more time in the moment. And I just don't find myself motivated to work with this deck in that manner. So I don't know. I think that's what I would do, but at this point, I'm gonna keep them all. There are times like where I will pull out these decks that they can work in a regular reading. So in that way, they have that, and I think they're like cool enough and interesting enough to me. I know that the Shining Tribe pair is really nice with the Flow Tarot, in my opinion. They're completely opposite as far as art style. The Flow Tarot is photographic, and it's mostly of water. And of nature, but they both have that like nature element, and with water being, you know, considered a more feminine thing, I think they just go well together. Even sometimes the images and like the shapes on the pictures will line up, so it's really cool in that sense. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be working with this for 2026 year ahead, because I did this year and it kind of fell apart. I'm not good at year aheads, so I'm definitely going to be doing like the envelope method that Lisa Pepez talked about. I'm going to link her video if you want to check that out. It's really cool. And I know other folks have done it as well, but I think I'm going to be doing that. I don't know if I'm going to be including this. I was inclined to use this and some other decks that I don't use very often, but it really depends on how the mix of decks works together and how I feel like it reflects my goals for next year, or like the energy that I'm feeling for next year. So I'm not really sure on that. I want to make a video on that really soon. So yeah, I'll definitely be keeping all of these decks. If I come up with any ideas for how I want to work with them, I'll probably share in an upcoming video. But there's some other decks that I finally figured out my Heindel thing of how I'm gonna be like studying that deck. Like I had a loose ideas, but now I feel like I've kind of got it down. So I don't really have room for other decks. Like that's the one I'm investing in right now, as well as the Murder of Crows. So yeah, that's all I got for these. So yeah, if you have any ideas on how I can work with this, you know, the Baba Yaga story medicine, let me know. Or if you have any work with it in a specific way, let me know. I'm just not sure. I really love it. Like I have a feeling about it. Like I think it's so amazing. But it might be like the Eidolon Radon deck, the Oracle door, where I'm just like, I love what it is, but I don't often work with it. And it's not super easy to work with when I do. Not to say I haven't had great experiences with it, but yeah, you get me, right? So, well. This is where we're at. We're going to keep all of these decks. for now. Maybe I'll put this in like a maybe pile. I don't know. I'm not really motivated to keep it. I mean, to let go of it. Well, was that a slip? I'm not motivated either way, let's be honest. It's a really cool deck, and I really like it, but and the box is gonna fall apart on me, not really soon, but it's not like the most strong box for such a big deck. A tuck box for a big deck is kind of like sad, but yeah, still beautiful. This one, yeah, we're not getting rid of her. At some point, maybe like I can do. That's the thing. I think maybe at some point I'd like to do like a deck study on my channel. And I think like Navigator's Tarot or Shining Tribe would definitely be one of those decks. Obviously, besides the Heindel, which is the one that I feel like folks might expect or want from me. And I think I've mentioned it as such, but like, I think interest for Heindel is kind of mixed. So I'm not really sure how I want to proceed with it on the channel anyway. But yeah, I think Shining Tribe would definitely be a good candidate for that. So, but we'll definitely be keeping all of these. Sorry for all the shaking. We're just going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video and being here with me. Let me know your thoughts, any ideas, assistance, or inspiration from this video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.